Good morning, Year 1, and welcome to the final day's English lessons for this week. So today we're going to be looking at a lot of work on words. To start off with, we're going to be looking at how exclamation marks are used in the text that we've been reading, and then we're going to be reading on a bit further, and we're going to be looking for how ed, er, and est ending words are used, and you're going to be collecting a set of them. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll get started. Okay, so for our grammar section, we're actually going to be looking in the text today, and we're looking for exclamation marks. But before we start doing that, can you tell your grown-up what an exclamation mark looks like and what it does? Oh, and where you would find it in a sentence. And when you're ready, grown-ups, we'll go through that information. So, an exclamation mark is used when you're trying to make a point. In speech, it's when you are shouting. An exclamation mark goes at the end of a sentence. And an exclamation mark looks like this. Okay, so we're now going to flip and we're going to read a bit more of our story. And we're looking for exclamation marks. But don't worry, grown-ups, you don't need to pause the video because we've got the example of the 4 pages. I want you to look for them in appearing on this video after we've read the text. Okay, so first part we're looking at, we read yesterday. Now we will surely starve, she shouted. She grabbed the beans and threw them into the field beside their house. So, children, can you point to where the exclamation mark is there? And what I'm going to want you to do is choose several of these sentences to write out on your whiteboards, showing how the exclamation marks are used. And if you want to, if there's speech marks, you could also include them as well. Because note the way that the exclamation mark appears before we close the speech marks. Okay, next part of the story. Jack was sent to bed without supper. There was still no food, but you can spot the exclamation marks there. The next morning, Jack woke early. His stomach rumbled. He was starving. He went downstairs. It was dark outside. He stared through the window and couldn't believe his eyes. Outside there was a giant beanstalk. So I wonder if you can spot those exclamation marks. And then the last sentence we're going to be looking at. Mum, Mum, come and look, Jack shouted, but his mother didn't come. Jack stared up at the beanstalk. It disappeared into the clouds. Should he climb it? Did he dare? So those are the pages we want to be looking at. And here they are on one slide, so they're easier to see. You see if you can identify as many as possible, as many as you feel like, of these exclamation marks. And grown-ups, it's up to you to decide how many sentences your children need to write. It might only be 2 or 3, or it might be a few more if they're doing brilliantly. Okay, and when you're ready, we'll highlight the sentences that you could have chosen. Okay, so the first sentence you could have chosen was this. Now they will shortly starve. The next one is there was still no food. And also, I missed it, Jack was sent to bed without supper. But you didn't miss that. The next one we've got is a very long sentence. He stared through the window and couldn't believe his eyes. And then outside there was a giant beanstalk. And then the next one we're looking at is Mum, 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 come and look. And that's it, because these here and here aren't exclamation marks, are they? They're question marks. And those questions have been addressed to the reader. They've been addressed to you. So what do you think, Year 1? Should he climb it? Did he dare? Well, let's find out, shall we? It didn't take Jack long to make up his mind. Carefully he began to climb. Up and up he climbed. Higher and higher he went. Up and up, higher and higher. And now we've got a new task. On 3 different pieces of paper, I want you to collect all the words ending in ed, er, and est. So I'm just going to give you an example now on this page. So I'm looking for, to start off with, an ed. So it didn't take long for Jack to make up his mind. Carefully began to climb. Up and up he climbed. I'm just going to change that highlighted colour to one that will show up. So we've got the word climbed. So I'd want to write that down on one piece of paper with the ED. But that's not the only ones we can find here. There's also some ER words, so higher and higher. Higher and higher. Now you don't need to write this down 4 times, you just would write it down to show it once. Okay, so you got the idea? So we're just going to go through the other ones, and then I'm going to scroll through them again slowly, giving 5 seconds between each one so that grown-ups can pause it when you have a go on your own. Okay. So suddenly Jack found himself in the clouds. He climbed higher still. Soon he was above the clouds. He couldn't believe his eyes. In the distance he could see a castle. So again, you're looking for those ED words, those ER words, and those EST words, those est words. Okay, and carrying on. Carefully, Jack began to walk towards the castle. Soon he stood outside the huge door. It was shut, but he squeezed through the gap at its bottom. Inside, he saw the tallest woman he'd ever seen. Even taller than was her husband, who sat at a table counting money. And this time, I think you can see the EST word as well. And then here's the last slide I want you to do. The giant suddenly looked up and said, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." Jack was terrified, but before he could move, the giant slumped forward and fell asleep. So grown-ups, I'm going to rewind those 4 pages, and I'm going to let you have a go at working through them at your own pace. Try to collect as many words as possible, but try to collect different words. Okay, and that's all there is to today's lesson. I'm sure you'll do brilliantly. And that's the end of today's lesson. See you again tomorrow.